In this episode, we will do next 3 steps of our bow design spiral. Stay tuned. Hello there everyone. Thank you for joining me again in my bow design series. In this video, we will go through next 3 steps of our bow design spiral. As usual, before we delve into the topic, let's recap what has been covered in the previous episode. First, we have discussed the importance of having a clear definition and understanding of what is the boat and what it needs to do, as well as where to find the necessary needs and constraints. Additionally, we have briefly explored various methods that can be employed to gather them. Then we had an interview with a potential client, and lastly, we created a document that defines our design. If you recall, in the first episode, we talked about goal setup and aiming. Previous episode was about bow definition, and that was goal setup. This episode is about aim. So in this episode, we will make our aim, and without further ado, let's go. The first step of aiming is to find the boats that are partially or completely matching to our bow definition. Where to find them? Well, internet, brokers, local marinas, exhibitions, plenty of opportunities. I will work on internet-based data, but I encourage you to go around and search for yourself. The data that we are looking in this stage are main dimensions. They include length, beam, and draft. Beside main dimensions, we are looking also for lightship or displacement of the boat and the powering. For now, we keep it simple, but you will see how we progress with our designs. The database is also going to become more complex, and that will give us input and better prediction and aiming capabilities for more complex designs. Now let's start searching and browsing on the internet. You probably have some preferred brands, so you can start with that. Boat that I'm looking for is popular in Netherlands, and I will Google style sloop. Style is a word for steel in Dutch, and sloop is a type of boat. Then I will find a few boats that I like how they look and that are fitting in our bow definition. Now that we have found several boats that seems to fit our needs, I will create a simple spreadsheet with columns for length, beam, draft, displacement, and powering. When the spreadsheet is created, I will write down numbers on the spreadsheet. Once the spreadsheet is filled, we can create different diagrams that we can use to our advantages. The diagrams that I will create are length versus beam, length versus draft, length versus displacement, and displacement versus power. In all diagrams, I will create a trend lines, and I will use them to get a starting point. Now, when the database is collected and ready, we can go to next step, and that's a sketch. So let's sketch a boat. In order to create a sketch, we need the main dimensions. Now, if we go back to our interview, our client said that he wants a boat that is less than 6 meters long. I will start with 5.5 meters, and in a few minutes I will explain why I'm doing it. But now let's go into diagrams and get rest of the dimensions. So if we go in length versus beam diagram and we take 5.5 meters and we go vertically to the trend line, we see that our boat should be around 2 meters in the width. I like when a boat is very wide because the width is a luxury on the water. And we have some space because our client said that he wants to tow the boat on a trailer, which means that we need to be within 2.45. If we take out the fenders, we can go with the width of 2.35. So that's what I'm going to do. I will pick up the beam of the boat as 2.35 meters and continue further. The next dimension that I'm going to check is the draft. And in this moment, I will only check if the required draft is below statistical level. And in our case, it is. Actually, it's very close by. So that means that it's not a big risk. So I will just continue further. Real draft of the vessel, we will calculate in the next episode when we will do and design our hull. For sketching, there are plenty of different methods that can be used. I'm using all of them depending on the mood. Sometimes I'm doing it with a just hand sketch, sometimes I'm doing it fully in a digital space, and there is no right or wrong. Do it where you feel comfortable and where it fits you. That's it. This time I will use hybrid approach. Let's create reference lines in a Rhino, print them on a piece of paper, and then hand sketch over that. However, you can see that I'm missing one important reference line, and that's a freeboard. And there are ways to calculate it, but for now let's keep it simple. So I will just import the profile view or side view of similar boat, and I will take the reference lines from that boat. You can notice that beside the length and reference line of the freeboard, I also place the stations on every 0.5 meter, and you will see shortly why I'm doing that. When the reference line is printed, we can start sketching, and you can see that I'm not trained in hand sketching, but still I love to do it because it helps me to think alone. I usually start with the side view, and when I'm satisfied with it, I will shift to the top view. Now let me explain why I have used 5.5 meter. As you can see on the sketch, the boat is 6 meter long, but there is a baiting platform of 0.5 meter. We can integrate that baiting platform in the hull, but then the hull is going to become more complex. We wanted to keep it simple. Now on the top view, first we create a shear line and shape of the boat, then sketch a layout, and in this case we will have a city in the front part with a table, and in the rear part of the boat we will create a seat for the helmsman and a small helm station. Now, when we have finished the sketch, we can continue with our steps. Next step is weight prediction, and this is a very important step since it is one of the major inputs into hull design. Mass of the boat or displacement is influencing a lot of things, among other the powering. So it is crucial that we make it good. As with everything in this project, we will go with very simple method. More complex projects will require more complex prediction methods, but for now we will keep it very simple, and I will just go in a diagram, and for our length of the boat we can see that trend line is giving us roughly 1.3 ton of displacement, and if we recall, we pick up a slightly wider vessel than statistical database was suggesting to, and that will probably increase the weight of the boat. However, if you take a look in the database, you will see that all the boats in database are actually with inboard engine. Inboard engine installation is heavier than the outboard, and outboard is, in our case, preferred propulsion train. So I will go with 1.3 ton for now, and we will see later if I was precise enough. Now, when we are mentioning propulsion and power, let's check if our powering is in the line of the range of similar boats. And if we just take a look at for our displacement, we are roughly there. Yes, we maybe will not achieve the speed, but we are not too far off. Our client said that he wants engine of that size, and we need to stick to that, and we will see what speed we are going to achieve. In later projects we will have a demand on a speed, and then we will calculate the power. But if our statistical database and our powering would be too much off, for instance, if statistical base would be about the fishing boats that are meant for the planning and having bigger engines, we will be significantly lower. That means that either our prediction was too much off or the statistical database was wrong. However, in our case we are good, But what I'm going to do now is that I will create additional row in a database, and I will fill in the dimensions and properties of our boat, our design. And then we can go through the diagrams and check how much we are outside of the range. I would say that we are good for now, and we can continue our next step. And now let's summarize what we have covered in this episode. First, we explored the market for similar boats. Then we gathered the data in one spreadsheet and we created several charts. Next step was to determine main dimensions and sketch our boat. When the sketch was finished, we estimated the weight of our boat. And lastly, we checked if we fit into statistical data range with powering and dimensions that are related to our boat. And that concludes this episode. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts or ask a question. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. And please share your thoughts in the comments so I can improve future content. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.